everybody. Chloe Riley here, Executive Editor of Supermarket News, and welcome to SN Off the Shelf. This is a special tech edition of our podcast, SN Tech Wire. And today we're looking at sustainability, both in terms of its importance to consumers, as well as how grocers can be getting their employees excited about and engaging with their sustainability initiatives. So today I'm joined by Lauren Kennedy, VP of Customer Success for Upshop, which is an AI-driven platform built to run food retail operations. Lauren, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Thanks. And Lauren, where are you joining us from today?
I'm joining from St. Paul, Minnesota. It's a beautiful sunny day.
Wonderful, wonderful. Great. It's pretty sunny here too in Illinois, which is nice. All right. Well, so Lauren, we know, sustainability more important than ever, obviously, both to consumers as well as being sort of this just global effort towards, the perception of doing one's part as a company towards the environment, and obviously, as well as avoiding excess waste. I know you've got some exciting things to share from Upshop, particularly around gamification within food waste efforts, which we're going to get to a little later. But first, Lauren, let's just dive in. More than 30% of U.S. consumers, say sustainability efforts are a key influencer in their choice of a primary store. So really illustrating the importance of this area right now to consumers and then obviously to grocers as well. So let's start with just taking a look at, who is this consumer who cares about sustainability? What do we know about them and what are some of their behaviors?
Yeah, I think, as retailers look at the landscape of their consumers, it's critical that we continue to look at it from who they are now and who they will be in 5 years from now. And the market of our consumers, we have the youngest shoppers in the US with our millennials who are very focused on the environment. And a part of their core values is around sustainability. And in 5 years, we'll have the largest amount of boomer shoppers who will likely be focused in on smaller baskets, the value. And while the sustainability might not be the first thing that they call out, the way that we can drive value for them is by ensuring that waste elimination all around will help pricing and will support their budgets. And so we have different shoppers that are in the buildings today, and really making sure we're keeping track of who they are today and who they will be is really how we've got to continue to come to the table is the way, I would start it.
Nice. Yeah. And that's helpful to think about too, because I think we all have this idea that like millennials and maybe even Gen Z are that more mindful focused, but really interesting too, to think about baby boomers and how kind of that script might affect them soon and, kind of how they might be thinking about this. So like knowing that element. Okay. So what are the biggest factors right now in food waste within retail?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Where does your product go is where I would start. And, how do we protect and create momentum? One, impact equals two equals four. But really, when you look at the operations within the store and, we are an operating system, that's where we spend a lot of our time. So we are evaluating workflows. We are looking at forecasts. And so a lot of different areas that we focus in on are ordering what's going into the ingredients. What are the associates doing every day? How many times are we touching the product? Where's the product going after we touch it? Are all factors that play into food waste. And it starts way upstream all the way to what's happening within the stores.
Great. Oh, it's a great snapshot of that. So, a majority of U.S. companies, that report their food waste goals are aligned with sort of that recommended UN target of 50% food waste reduction by 2030, which obviously very impressive numbers. Great to see people aligning themselves this way, but are retailers actually on pace to hit those targets? And if not, what's holding them back?
Yeah, we have definitely, I get the great pleasure of working with retailers all over the globe and continue to hear about these goals, which is very exciting. I think some are more confident than others, but I think a large piece that continues to be missed. And, I used to work in retail stores every day, and in the heart of what we all do are the associates. And really, I still see a gap in our ability to accomplish that if we don't help the associates understand the role they have to making that happen. There's a lot of things we need to do with our data, and retailers have that responsibility. But how do we make the associates the heroes in this case as well, and really help show the actions that they take or the decisions that they make every day can have an impact as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like the associates are the key, kind of the key
Right.
component here.
Yeah. Yes.
How are grocers being affected by sort of this idea of like an aging system of food waste operations?
Yeah. Well, aging is an interesting component because I would first say, is there a technology that's out there or a system that's out there? Some of the age is a lack of a system or um, a manual component, or the desire for it to naturally happen through process that is done every day, whether that be rotating or to being dependent on just a forecast. But when we look at technology and systems in general, there is still opportunity in the adoption of technology. And we know that today, specifically in North America, 10% of our grocers use a markdown optimization, but we are still seeing, upwards of thousands of expired items on shelves in grocery departments alone, in an average store. And so I think it's a cross between the adoption of the technology and then is there technology in place. And so pending on where the retailer is at, we will meet them what that looks like. And we've got some cool things around how do we drive adoption, and when we look at the design of our tools, operating tools specifically around waste in the future. But I think it's got to be looked at with both lens from our retailers.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of the potential cool tools that people could be using, to optimize in this area. I definitely want to talk about the gamification piece. What is Upshop offering in this department, and how are you guys seeing, employees engage with it?
Yeah, we are an end-to-end operating tool. So I hit on, ingredients and ordering and production planning would go into that. Your forecasts go into that, what's coming into your store. I think uniquely, we have a very special product, or I consider it special into what we're able to do and drive for the future. We call it Waste 360. It's truly an end-to-end solution that represents that circular nature of waste. And in that tool, we have what's called a navigator, which is it's a single app where the associates get to be the hero of the adventure. It's puts them in the role to see where they stand or the impact they're able to make. And so we have opportunity to show store teams on a monthly basis where they rank, what they're doing, and it is so neat to hear the pride. We've actually had associates reach out directly to us or to our support lines and say, I was the top, I made the top impact in my stores. And so it's a badge of honor they carry, but really it's bringing back, not only showing them where they rank, because everybody has a little competitive nature in their heart, but it's bringing back the action to the impact.
That's great. And what are some of the metrics that are being measured with that? Like, is it, how are they measuring sort of what their food waste, how they're helping contribute to that? Can you give us a sense of that?
Yeah, there's, depending on the tool that is, or the solutions that are used, or how engaged they are in the end-to-end nature of it. When we look at right sizing ordering, and getting the right amount of products, retailers are looking at this. We had a retailer eliminate 2 million miles on the road, which is about a delivery a day, and that's not just unneeded product in the store, that's unneeded miles on the road, that's unneeded touches to the product. So we're able to show things like that. And when you're an associate in the store, you get engaged by one less truck that you're having to work a week. And then on the waste side, or the markdown optimization, we're able to show the hours that they're spending into that, how many things are actually going out of date, where are you able to donate product. And so there's a lot of different metrics that start to come to life that our retailers are seeing.
Nice. That's great. And obviously everybody always wants to be the winner. So that's
100%.
so fun. I know I got
Yeah.
to see a snapshot of what it looks like and like kind of the back end dashboard. And it was just like, oh yeah, this feels like a fun thing to play with. So I
Yeah.
can totally see why people want to engage with it. It's great.
Right.
So how does the gamification part, how does that translate sort of to real numbers for grocers? You know, like how is it concretely helping them move the needle? What are you guys seeing so far from sort of the real world?
Yeah. What I would say is we're able to see it from, when you look at the bottom line, shrink dollars, we're constantly focused on how do we eliminate shrink? How do we save in payroll? And, how do we, I love this, but how do we take more trucks off the road? How do we compound less waste in the store from both a product, but also a people component, and translate that into what they need, what they should be doing at the right times. And so, we're looking at it from how much is being able to be donated? What do shrink dollars look like? What is tonnage and miles on the road look like? So there's a lot of different measurements that can be computed in partnership with our retailers, and they all, pending on their ESG goals, look at it differently. We have retailers that, while wanting to eliminate waste, on the same side, want to be able to donate meals. And so how do we make sure we get that forecast right so that we're not giving them extra, but they're also able to make the impact from a donation standpoint in their communities as well.
Nice. So it sounds like there's some flexibility there too.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what would you say, what's next in sustainability looking ahead? And how sort of can grocers continue to optimize in this area?
Yeah, for me, and I hit on it earlier, but I would just say that circular fashion, in order to match the waste goals that have been put out there in this sector, is we need to use data to help us. Data in a circular fashion. How does it start upstream in the forecast? And it's not just a buying forecast, but the forecast that's actually needed within the stores. What does the ordering components look like, and how are we managing markdowns and expiration dates? And then really in that end is how do you connect that final step with donations? And so in the long term, from an effectiveness standpoint, we've got to look at it circular. We've got to look at it from an operating component. And really, how do we balance and take this idea of an ounce of prevention being worth a pound of the cure? And you just said it, but what's the balance? What is the balance? What's the flexibility to meet those goals that each retailer specifically has?
Great. So I'm hearing it's sort of the circularness. It's definitely about the data, and
Right.
Yeah, it's about kind of just looking at the whole thing as a whole and understanding, getting clear probably about what your goals are up front,
Right.
and using tech to help translate that.
Right. There's
Cool.
powerful stories in that data, like
Yeah.
incredibly powerful stories. We just got to get, in a world of a lot of data, the right data, or the data that matters to help tell your story.
Ain't it always the way?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, Lauren, anything else? Any kind of final takeaways on all this for grocers?
Yeah. I would just say I said it at the beginning, the heart of what we do is the associate and the consumer. And so I think, how do we not forget the associates in this journey? We need to understand how waste reduction impacts their jobs, their everyday job, because at the end, they're the ultimate change engine. We can produce a bunch of data everywhere we want, but how do they become the heart of this and these initiatives going forward?
Absolutely.
And I would just say, like, your associates are your shoppers. They shop your stores too. So connecting it full circle is a powerful thing.
I like that. Connect it full circle and really tell that story, and really look at that data to figure out which story to tell.
Yes.
Nice. Well, great. Well, thanks so much for joining us and sharing your insights, Lauren.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. Thanks
Wonderful.
for having me.
And thank you all for joining us today on SN TechWire. Take care.